I automated my job over a year ago and I haven't told anyone. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube with notifications on and follow on Spotify. I work for a mid-sized law firm that hired me as an IT specialist to handle all their digital evidence for trials. The law firm was in the process of changing their evidence and managing system to cloud-based and wanted me to be the only person with admin access to the cloud. Everyone else would be limited to view only and would work on a local network drive. It sounds great, but I quickly realized this was the only task they expected me to perform in my 8-hour shift. This in no way was an 8-hour job, so I was stuck at the office pretending to work most of the time. Then the pandemic happened and I was asked that there was any way I could work from home. I set up a remote workstation, tunneled it to my house, and that's where the real fun began. In about a week, I was able to write, debug, and perfect a simple script to perform my entire job. It essentially scans the on-site drive for any new files, it generates hash values for them, transfers them to the cloud, then generates the hash values again for fidelity. In court, you have to prove digital evidence hasn't been tampered with. I clock in every day, play video games, or do whatever, and at the end of my day, I look over the logs to make sure everything ran smoothly. Then I clock out. I'm only at my desk maybe 10 minutes a day. For a while, I felt guilty like I was ripping off the law firm, but eventually, I convinced myself that as long as everyone is happy, there is no harm done. I'm doing exactly what they hired me to do. All of the work is done in a timely manner and I get to enjoy my life. Win-win for everyone involved. Plus, I've already decided that if they ever try to get rid of me, I'll just get rid of the script. I'm running it on equipment that I own, so if they lose me, they lose the work, creating my own job security. Here are a few questions that people have been asking me that I want to answer. Number one, how much am I getting paid? I'm getting paid just shy of $90,000 a year. Number two, what work do they hire me to do? Sorry if it wasn't clear, the firm gets thousands of digital documents, photos, etc. on a daily basis. All of this goes on a local drive. My job is to transfer all of these files to the cloud and then verify their fidelity. Number three, why do they think this is an 8-hour job? Before they hired me, they were struggling to keep up with things. Employees submit a spreadsheet of all the files they've placed on the local drive at the end of the day. Then the admin manager would check the spreadsheet and manually drag and drop the folders/files into the cloud. I still receive the spreadsheet every day, and that's what I use to verify my logs. Number four, why am I lazy/why am I wasting my life? I don't feel like I am lazy or wasting my life. I do have a passion project that I work on during the day, but that's not really relevant to this discussion. Hence the whatever portion of play video games or do whatever. Number five, why did I feel guilty? They're lawyers. I know it doesn't fit most posts, but I actually don't hate my boss. He's actually really nice, albeit not tech savvy at all. I don't actually work with or see the lawyers. I fall under administration since they don't have an IT department. Number six, what code language am I using/how can you do this? The script is in batch with some portions of PowerShell. The base code is fairly simple and most of it came from Googling .bat transfer files followed by .bat how to only transfer certain file types, etc. The trick was making it work with my office, knowing where to scan for new files, knowing where not to scan due to lag. Seriously, if you have a folder with 200,000 .txt files, that crap will severely slow down your scans. Better to move it manually and then change the script to omit that folder from future searches. Number seven, why don't you sell it and make bake? Please understand, this is not some high-end program that's worth millions. This is a few lines of code written in Notepad. It only has value in this situation because the office has no technical skills. This type of script people put on GitHub with a $5 price tag linked to their PayPal. Number eight, don't delete the script due to legal reasons. I agree. I checked my employee contract and there is no IP agreement in there, so I thought I'd be safe, but it's probably better if I don't try my luck. Number nine, how are you doing it using your own equipment? Short answer, the local drive is theirs, the cloud drive is theirs, the VPN is theirs, the PC that I bought with my own money specifically for this task only runs this script. There is no work files or evidence being stored in my PC. The script is literally the only thing on the PC other than the operating system. Carpenters might buy their own tools because they know exactly what they need and what works for them. I bought my own PC for the same reason. Number 10, it can't be this simple/this is fake because you aren't doing blah 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 blah. You're right, it's not this simple. There are more steps involved in the script and it performs functions I haven't discussed. Discussing these functions would be more likely to give away my location. The core of the script, transfer, and hash is accurate. It's the extra steps that I take that are specific to my office and that I'm leading out. And finally, the last one, did you see the article that Newsweek wrote about you? He says, yes, I saw the Newsweek article and no, I'm not worried. This is actually pretty wild. He's making a ton of money while being able to work on whatever his passion project is throughout the entire workday. I mean, he's only working basically for for 10 minutes a day, 5 days a week, so less than an hour for an entire work week. And this has been going on for over a year. It's kind of hard to imagine that his law firm wouldn't eventually find out, especially with all this press that this is getting through Newsweek and the other publications that are writing about it. But I mean, it sounds like the company is happy with what he's doing. I mean, they're getting what the result is they need to have, as opposed to manually doing all of this themselves, like that sounds like they were doing right before he came into the picture. The way one of the top commenters put it was, think of your wages as a subscription service to your automation program. Big companies love subscription services. It does kind of seem like this piece of software in between space, where it's not universal or big enough for a company to start up and create a solution for this specific problem, but it's also not so small that this already exists in a prepackaged form that can exist on GitHub and somebody could just grab it. It's a little bit too specific. So let me know what you would do if you're in this situation. Would you keep this going? Would you stop doing this? And do you think the OP is a jerk or not a jerk for doing what he's doing here? I stole from my job and gave it to a homeless man. This literally just happened and it felt pretty good. 10 out of 10, I'm going to do it again. I work overnight at a hotel, a pretty large international chain. For the most part, I'm sitting in the lobby watching TV and messing around all night between my 1 to 2 hours of work. I don't need this job. I just use it for extra cash, so I'm not too worried about losing it. We just had some snow yesterday, and last night was pretty cold. No negative temperatures, but down to about 10 degrees Fahrenheit. A homeless guy came up to our front door at about 2 a.m. and asked if I could look up the bus and train schedules for him so he could get out of the cold. I told him to come on in and sit on the couch and chill for a bit while I look it up. I made him some hot chocolate and we chatted while I was looking for these schedules. The next form of public transportation wasn't coming by until 4 a.m. So this poor dude had 2 hours of cold to deal with before he could get on a bus. I told him he's more than welcome to chill on our couch and watch TV until it comes. At this point, I realized I could hook this dude up. We have snacks and water that we give to all guests checking in. I asked if he wanted a few, and when he said yes, I just dumped the whole bag of probably 50 packages of chips, nuts, cookies, etc. in a bag and handed it to him. We also have tons of toiletries, and we just give them out as well. I asked if he needed anything, ended up loading his backpack with the toothbrush, toothpaste, bottles of soap, Q-tips, tweezers, toilet paper, etc. Then I asked if he was going to be on the bus all morning trying to stay warm. He said yeah, so I went in the back and gave him a few small towels to wash himself with and a small pillow and blanket. None of those are tracked, and we're constantly buying more to replace what gets stolen anyway. All of this stuff, the company I work for buys on a regular basis and just hands out to entitled members that don't need it anyway. This man was clearly in need, and my company won't even notice what's missing. I don't even feel bad. I hope he tells his friends and they all come. Stealing from your work and giving to the homeless is based AF, and I highly recommend. Was I the jerk? This was something that was incredibly kind from the OP. I mean, he is in some way risking his job, possibly if his company wants to fire him for this, but he probably made a huge impact on this man who could use every aspect of that. I kept thinking that maybe there would be a scenario where somebody's already checked out and the room hasn't been cleaned yet or something like that, so he could go in and use a shower and get cleaned up, but that probably would have been a lot more logistically complex in order to pull off. But everything that he did was already way above and beyond what most people would do in a situation like this. There was a couple of people that received their stories being on the receiving end of something like this, and someone said, I have been on the receiving end of this once. The dude even shouted me a free room, and you, my brother, are a legit legend. The hot chocolate, the greeting, and the lobby would have been more than we could have ever asked for. Thanks for being a legend. Someone else said, similar here. I was avoiding someone who was hurting me. I had told the desk that no one was to know that I was there. I came down to the desk later that night to see if there was a vending machine so I can get some chips as dinner. The employee unlocked the breakfast room and let me make some waffles, get some muffins, and take some extra fruit. I had only paid for the cheapest room with no bonuses like breakfast. I cried from the kindness. So as usual, let me know what you would do in this situation if you were the OP, or if you've ever been in it. Let me know what happened. My boss said she couldn't promote me because I had only been with the company for 1 year, so I changed departments. During your previous performance evaluation, I received high marks on all areas. My then boss told me that I couldn't be promoted because I had only been with the company for 1 year. It wasn't true. I had been with them for over 18 months, but I just let it go. I found out later that another department that does similar work to what our team does promoted people on their team that had been with the company for less than 1 year. Naturally, I was irritated and asked my boss. She said it wasn't up to her. That team had an opening and I applied. Our company requires us to notify our current manager before we can start the interview process. I sent my boss an email letting her know and CC the hiring manager. I go to the interviews and get the job. It came with a promotion and a nice pay raise. This week I get my offer letter. I get a text from my boss at the time and asked to get on a call. I said politely that I couldn't get back online because I was to dinner with my wife. We were celebrating the new job. She scheduled a 7:30 a.m. call to chat. During the call, she said she felt betrayed because I didn't tell her that I applied. I responded that I had informed her via email weeks ago. She said that she couldn't find it, so I forwarded her the email. She immediately went silent and asked what it would take to keep me. I told her the new job's promotion was the main reason I applied. She offered to promote me. I began to question how this was possible since I wasn't eligible during my performance review 3 months earlier. She deflected and said that these are very different circumstances. I thanked her for the offer but declined. I've been with a new team for some months and enjoy the new role now. The old team is struggling to complete some of my tasks, so they still reach out to me, and I assist with guidance at my pace, so I take time responding. Never found out what the different circumstances were that allowed a promotion when I was prepared to leave, but not when I earned one during a performance evaluation. Was I the jerk? There's no way that this boss didn't get to email. That's just a way of saying that in order to pretend like there's some retroactive explanation for what went down. And being in the OP's position, I don't know that any amount of money within reason really would have changed the OP's mind about whether or not to stay with the team. I mean, even if the boss paid more money than the OP was going to make with this new performance, with this new position, I have a feeling the OP probably still wouldn't take it in order to not have to deal with that type of situation after a performance evaluation. But let me know what you would do in this situation down below. Who else messes with customers that don't wear face masks? If I see you in my store without a face mask, I am going to mess with you. I strategically block aisles with carts, totes, and explicitly give customers the wrong directions to their favorite out-of-stock product. You need to give us space while we try to do our jobs. In contrast, if an elderly person is wearing a mask that comes and asks me to help them with something, I'll drop what I'm doing and help them to find it as I walk through the horde of mouth breathers, leaving a rancid trail of farts in my way. Who else messes with maskless customers at a grocery store? I am a lowly Kroger associate with a COVID schedule to work on Monday. Customers should not be allowed to come in within 1 meter of an employee and breathe in their faces. Be sensible. Make people stand 6 feet apart and wear a mask. I am being asked to work 1 day shy of the CDC isolated guidelines by incompetence cult of middle management. Then after a bunch of responses, he wrote and said, stop politicizing science, give us hazard pay, and sanitize the stores. I am not a liberal because I don't want to catch or transmit a communicable disease from one or to another human being. Someone in response to this actually said, I drive a shuttle, and when people get on and start complaining about the masks, I just tell them, well, I just tested positive a couple of days ago, but I've got my mask on, so you should be okay. Whenever I say this, they mask up real quick. The OP answers a bunch more questions, and you can clearly see that they are very frustrated, but it does make sense because as they state here, they're not getting hazard pay, they're not sanitizing anything apparently, and they're probably afraid of getting sick. I'm assuming if the OP does get sick, the store is not going to give the OP pay time off or something like that, but let me know what you would do if you're in this situation, or if you've already been in it, let me know what happened.